and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Janila Moya, and as usual, I am so happy to have you all here with me today. Before we get started, I have a quick disclaimer. So, everything that I share in this video today is based off of my own personal experience. I'm not speaking on behalf of any firm, any organization, or any recruiter. Interview processes can vary based on the firm, based on the office, and the year. So what worked for me may not be universal, but I hope that my experience can help someone in the future with their interview process. Let's get started. So let me share a little bit about myself and my accounting background. Fun fact, I actually always wanted to be an accountant since I was in the 3rd grade. Yes, you heard me correctly, since the 3rd grade. And one day I'm gonna share with you guys how that all came about, and you're gonna be like, oh, she's not crazy, that makes sense. But that's for another video. Anyways, I followed my dreams and my aspirations of being an accountant, and I went on to get my Bachelor's of Science in Accounting from Florida Gulf Coast University. Go Eagles! I also got my Master's of Science in Accounting and Taxation from the University of Maryland. Go Terps! And I'm also on the journey to getting my CPA license. Hopefully I get it by 2027, that's the goal, so fingers crossed, we'll see. I also wanted to share that I have always wanted to be a part of the Big Four for a very long time actually. And to be very transparent with you guys, I never landed a Big Four job right out of college. I actually landed a Big 10 job and it didn't work out, and I ended up in the Big Four. Okay, so now I'm gonna walk you guys through how I prepared for my interview, how I stood out, the questions that I was asked, and I'm hoping this will help you in your interview. Let's go. How I prepared for my Big Four interview. One thing you need to do is research the company, know its core values, and know its culture. I think that definitely helped me in understanding what I'm gonna sign up for. It helped me to really know the company, so when they ask me anything like, why do you wanna be here? I'm like, well, I respect your core values. This stands out to me. This is how this applies in my life, and so forth and so forth. So that's one thing. You also need to know your resume inside and out. If you placed on your resume that you know Power BI, make sure when they ask you about Power BI, you can tell them everything you've done with it. You can also tell them, what it is. So make sure you know everything on your resume, where you worked, the organizations that you are a part of, how you displayed leadership in these organizations is definitely very important. You also want to prepare real life examples. So this goes hand in hand with what I just said. You have to show how you demonstrated leadership in your past roles. You have to show how you demonstrated teamwork and pressure, how you handle working under pressure. So that's very important. The next thing I want to say is you need to practice your storytelling using the STAR method. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. Let me explain the STAR method real quick. And I'm going to read from my paper here because I want to give you guys exact examples of what I mean. So situation, you want to set the scene, right? Give just enough context so the listener understand what was happening. So where are you? When was this? What was going on? T for task. That means you need to explain your responsibility in that situation, right? So what were you responsible for? What was expected of you, okay? A, which is the action. This is the most, oh my God, this is the most important part. Explain what you did step by step. How did you approach it? What decisions did you make? And lastly, the result. Close the story with the outcome, okay? What happened? What did you learn? What changed because of your actions? And that right there is a STAR method. So practice your storytelling using that method. And lastly, you want to be able to explain why accounting and why this firm. Okay, now what I believe helped me stand out personally, my strong academic background. Now, this is not to say that you have to have a 4.0, a 3.9, you have to graduate, like be a valedictorian, you know, it doesn't say all that. What I'm trying to say is your academics matter, okay? And with that, I was able to speak highly of my background, my journey through college, and how I was involved, how I worked, like how I managed my time in classes. This all helped me stand out to the Big Four interviewers. And I think also I had like very clear communication. I didn't go back and forth what I was saying. I was very clear, very like, you know, to the point. And I also practiced my little storytelling with the STAR method. And I, you know, explained that this happened this time, then this, then that. As a result of that, this is how it all worked out for me, what I learned, and so forth. So I think that's very important. Storytelling is so important in the interview process. I think what also stood out was my confidence. Now, I didn't sound too arrogant. Like, I didn't sound too, like, rehearsed. I was very confident, and I think that really like differentiated me from like other interviewees, or you know, people interviewing for the position, because one of the interviewers told me that you were so confident, and I love that. And I was like, whoa, is this a step into the company? Like, did I just make it? But no, I think just being confident, like own your journey, own what you went through. I owned my journey. I owned that, all right? I graduated summa cum laude. I wanted to be an accountant since I was in the 3rd grade. I owned everything that went on in my life, and I just brought it out in the interview. And I just, you know, it's like imagine you own a business and you're trying to like sell your products. All the good things you would say about those products to get it sold. So all the good things you want to say about yourself, you put that out into the interview. I think what also made me stand out was also the fact that I showed curiosity and I asked thoughtful questions. So definitely going to the interview with at least 5 questions prepared to ask. So luckily my interview was virtual. I think, yeah, all of my interviews were virtual. Some people, they have to go in, you know, in office or wherever and do their interviews. And sometimes being like being I know for me personally, being face to face with someone, I can forget my questions. I really can. But I don't know, virtual just works for me. And so have your questions prepared ahead of time and make sure they are thoughtful questions, okay? And if you guys ever, after like all of this, you have any questions for me, like what are some questions to ask and stuff like that, go to the link in my bio, go on my email, and ask me whatever question you want to ask. I will answer it to the best of my ability. And in addition to that, I think what really worked out for me was that like I didn't sound too rehearsed. I was very natural. I think I was very calm during my interview. And like I said, I practiced days before. I'm actually going to go through some questions that I have been practicing, and you can email me and ask me for those questions. I'll be happy to like send them to you. But the questions that I practiced were questions that I actually just like Googled, and I looked on AI or whatever, and I like found these questions, and I'm like, it helps me because I feel like I got almost all of those questions in the actual interview. But you can do whatever helps you, but that's just like what I did. And practicing it days before, oh my God, it's helped me immensely. Like I was so prepared. I was ready. I was so ready to just talk about myself and say, look, give me that job. Yeah. But I was very, calm and collected. And I wasn't very crazy like you just saw. But there was a fire in me that morning when I had that interview, and I was really ready. So that's why I want to come here and tell you guys, this is what I think made me stand out. Now let's get into the questions that I was asked. So for one, you always want to know why this company? Why do you want to work here? What can you give back to us? How will you add value to this company? You need to know all of that, all right? And you also want to know why tax? Why audit? Why consulting? Whatever it may be. You want to know your why behind what you're actually gonna do in the company. For me, it was tax. I feel like my classes, and this is an answer that I always give, like, you know, my classes back at, you know, University of Maryland or Florida Gulf Coast University sparked my interest, and I always got like better grades in those classes, and it just fits, the tax fits my personality. It fits my strengths and my personality, and you can talk about your strengths and why tax fits your strengths. And also if you did any internships, you can say like, my internship like solidified, or any experience that you had in the past, this solidifies why I want to do tax or, you know, audit or consulting, whatever it may be. And you can use those or any additional like answers that you want to give, but definitely sound professional. Don't sound too rehearsed, and just let it flow. Let it flow, let it flow, let it flow. Everything's gonna work out right, you know. I can't sing, but whatever. The next thing, they might ask you some like behavioral questions around teamwork. You know, how well do you work on a team? Because like all the big four, like they're just about teamwork, and that's so good. And if you have like experience with teamwork, for me, you know, I was like a RA. I had like a lot of different like club affiliations that actually showed me how to work on a team, and I used that as like my example of like, you know, why I work best on a team. If you don't have any work example, for example. If you don't have any work example, for example. If you don't have any like work, like any job examples, then or work related examples, then you can use your clubs and organizations that you are a part of in college. I think also what usually comes up is a lot of questions about like leadership and adaptability. Lucky for me, I held a lot of leadership positions. Whether it was in undergrad, grad school, I, you know, always showed up as a leader. So that was easy for me to talk about. But if you haven't done any or had any leadership opportunities and you're still in school, get involved. It really helps. Really, really helps. Oh, and you might get a lot of like, tell me about a time type of questions. That is where your STAR method absolutely, like, your STAR method should be used like throughout, if possible. But tell me about a time type of questions, those definitely require your STAR method, okay? Oh, and you also want to know like your strengths, your weaknesses. Oh my God. And if you're gonna say you're a perfectionist, please, 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 please have something to like make it sound good if possible. Because I think a lot of us love to say that we're perfectionists, and it sounds a little cliche. But try to, you know, have something that is gonna sound insightful. Maybe don't say that, use something else, you know? Oh, and one more thing that really helped me was like networking. I can't explain to you how big this is. This is so huge when joining the Big Four. Before my interview, I reached out to like people who worked at the organization before, and you know, I like talked to them a little bit, like learned about the company through someone. And even in your interview, you can say, oh my God, I spoke with the manager, her name is XYZ, and she inspired me into wanting to be a part of this company based on blah, 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 whatever she said about the company. And that sounds amazing. Just network, and it doesn't only like make you sound good, but like it shows that you're putting out the initiative to like reach out to somebody in the company, right? And I think that really helped me. Like, I always try to find somebody to like reach out to and ask them. I always like have questions to ask them, like tell me about the company culture, tell me about this. And that really helps me in understanding my why into wanting to join the company. So try that out. Now let's talk about mindset going into the interview. 1. It's actually 2. 1. You want to treat the interview as if it is a conversation. Introverts, don't leave the room. Listen up. I'm an introvert and interviews are so hard for me, believe it or not. And I always like practice before my interview, and I try to practice with somebody or practice with a wall, something, so that when I'm answering, I don't sound rehearsed. You know, I try to like understand my answers, if that makes sense, so that when I'm talking, it sounds like a conversation and not like, oh, I want to be a tax person because this was that, and additionally, that was that. No. Make it sound like a conversation. Let it flow. Like, let it all come together as one whole piece. Use the STAR method. Everything that works, you know, for you to make it sound like a conversation. That's so important. Also, letting your personality show professionally. Now, if you're very bubbly, that's good, but be professional with it, right? Don't just go in and be like, yeah, I want to be here because yes, and this is why I want to be here. Be professional. Like, I want to join your company because I believe that I can add value based off of my experiences, my personality. Just be professional, okay? And have confidence from your preparation. That is so important. Your confidence will definitely reflect, you know? And that's why I think it's so important to like prepare before your interview, because having that confidence in the interview, it really helps. It really helps. So definitely have confidence from preparation. Preparation builds confidence. When you actually sit back and analyze the firm that you want to join, search up their core values, search up what they stand for, search up their culture, ask questions, talk to people who've worked there, that helps to boost your confidence in the interview. So never forget that. To add on that, you don't need to be perfect. You need to be prepared. That's all I'll say. And lastly, be yourself. Your professional self at that. Okay? So I hope this helps you in your future interviews with the Big Four. I know for me it was scary, but because I prepared, I didn't feel as nervous walking into the interview, and I felt so confident after the interview. And just to tell you guys a little story, I remember after my interview, I was like, you know what? You did well. You did amazing. You're gonna treat yourself to some Popeyes. And because I really love Popeyes. And I got my Popeyes, and within like 30 minutes after that last interview, I got a call. And they were like, you got the job. And I was like, what? Now, mind you, I knew I did well. I knew I put out my all. But I was still so surprised that I got the job. And I believe that if you guys just like really just know the company, know yourself, know your resume, I think you guys can definitely do it. I know that like a lot of people think that, okay, Big Four interviews are so intimidating and it's so hard or whatever. Honestly, just go in there being yourself, put out your all, practice the STAR method, practice before you actually do the interview, and I think you should do totally fine. I am so happy that I took the steps that I took, and that's why I'm sharing it with you guys, so that like you can also have these steps and you can follow through with everything that I said and hopefully land that Big Four job that you are so wanting to be in. I know you can do it, okay? And that is all I have for you guys. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comments for me. I will answer you as best as I can. If you want me to go more in depth with my experience, drop them in the comments as well. I'll try my best to do another video if need be. And if you have any other questions or you just want to chat, my email is open. I'll try to respond to you at a reasonable time. And with that, that's the end of my video. Thank you guys so much for staying with me and watching till the end. I'm so appreciative of you all. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things to get my video going. And if you think this might help somebody else, share with them, feel free. But I want to thank you again for being here, and I hope this helps you in your future interview. Bye.